Hey, this is Gerd Handel, and welcome to the Inner Light Project. This show is for anyone who's wanting to lead a happier, healthier, and enlightened life. Create more self-love, inject more joy and abundance into their daily life. Join me for inspiring interviews and spiritual topics so you can shine your inner light. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Inner Light Project. My name is Gerd Handel, and today I want to share with you somebody who's just an absolute powerhouse. This woman is just an amazing soul. She has such a spiritual heart. She really is helping women to really come back home to the ancient wisdom from within. She really is helping people to nourish their nervous system, and that I think is so important. Now society, we are doing the deeper work, we are doing the inner work, we are learning about traumas, our own traumas, but a lot of us don't realize a lot of the behaviors that we have is linked to our nervous system, and our nervous system is linked to our childhood. And what we become from 0 to 13 is who we become. And if we are not paying attention to our nervous system as to why we react to certain things, we are giving our power away. Now, Tirzah's story is very interesting. She is the founder of Blink Bar, and once upon a time she was actually broke, and she created a 30 million company in less than 5 years. What an amazing soul. She had no investors, she had no capital, and she now runs a company called VSB, which is a platform dedicated to empowering heart-centered entrepreneurs. Tirzah, I'm so grateful to have you on the show, and thank you for joining us today.
Good. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure. I love your podcast and the work you do, and so happy to be here with you.
Oh, bless you. I'm just excited to talk to you and hear about your story and the beautiful journey that you're on right now. It just sounds so amazing, and just what we've been talking about earlier. I'm really excited to talk about plant medicine and just, how you got there. So what was your life like before you became the founder of a 30 million company?
Oh, well, I had very humble beginnings for sure. I was born in northern Canada in Alberta, and my family was very poor. And we had experiences where we received, clothing out of garbage bags and food from the food bank, even though my, parents worked very, very hard. They never really seemed to have that alignment with money. They never had this abundant relationship with money. And I really felt that growing up. And so I became, what I guess would be classified back then as a type A type woman. I was very driven and wanted to be a millionaire before I was 20.
Wow.
And, I worked so hard, and I really, worked on my thinking, and I realized, people have bought into these stories. And so I started to create my own stories. And so I kind of had these two parallel tracks, one where I was very driven, and I, went and had a successful career. I did, as you mentioned, build a $30 million company in less than 5 years with no investors.
Wow.
And yet those seeds were planted from a very young age. And I can see now that they were really, a lot of that drive was coming from a lack of a part of me that was not healed. And at the same time, I was, born a mystic. So I had very mystical experiences from a very young age. And I had, very, very intense intuition and insights. I was very clairvoyant as a child. And also, I would see things that were interdimensional. And so these two, paths really continued throughout my life, where I was studying ancient traditions. I would say I was remembering them. I was remembering experiences and lifetimes that I had. And that life was kept very separate. I kind of had different friend groups, different experiences, different, things I would do. And then I had my kind of YPO, which is this group of CEOs. I had this, YPO world of, my CEO friends and career path, but they were very separate. They didn't overlap a lot until 2020, when my company was closed for a year. because we were the majority of our locations, we were all in California. And, for whatever reason, everything kind of collided at that point where I knew I was never going to be able to separate those two paths again, that the purpose was for these two paths to come together. And so now today, that's what I work with after exiting my company is I work with really the heart-centered entrepreneurs. I work with purpose and I work with alchemy. So I work within to alchemize a lot of what we're dealing with in the world, because you can feel that things are really speeding up. The intensity is building.
Yeah.
And so, I really work with rooted ancient practices like the ancient mystery schools of Chartres to really work in the business realm and to give real world business tools to a more spiritually business minded generation. How's that?
Yeah. Wow. I'm blown away because you're right, we are living in a crazy time right now where everything is so rapidly fast and the demand is so quick. Even healing now, like I've been on this journey since 2012 and I noticed that healing was a lot slower back then, but now people are healing at like accelerated paces, and it blows my mind how quickly people are healing. It's like a new energy that's happened in the world. And
Yeah. It's
it,
beautiful to see. And it's no mistake, of course, that 2012 is the year that you really marked, because that is the year where, it's almost like when the sun rises, you have that twilight or that, that light just starts to rise. And that was happening back in 2012.
wow.
We can look and see, things just started to shift, right?
Yeah.
And now the intensity is building where, the light is coming on, the sun is rising within us and in our world.
And there's a rise of the feminine energy, which I kind of spotted in the last few years, but it's more prevalent now this year than ever before. And we're seeing things being exposed and things coming out, and it's more about the heart center and coming back home to ourselves. And I just want to honor where you were back in 2012. Like, you built everything up from nothing. That's such a powerhouse energy. And it just shows that, you were just willing to do anything to get yourself to a place that felt like home and safety. That's what I'm picking up. And also I just want to say that I don't know if you felt this as well, but because of what you grew up with and what I grew up with, we had this like resilience, and we're all about being in the alpha energy and getting things done. But actually we didn't even know that there was a beautiful flow that we could have with the feminine, and actually we could take our time and things would come organically.
Yeah, absolutely. Back then, I can see so much fear was driving. Like, my core wound was really around I'm not safe and I'm not enough, right? And that, I see people who've built bigger companies than I have, 300 million, $500 million that I work with, and they're driven by the same core wound. And, especially as female leaders, but, this is also applicable to male leaders as well, is, this epoch of humanity is all about having the feminine and the masculine reside within one container in its healed state. So what I see when I work with high-powered type A women is exactly what you just said, that they have not built, and especially not been given from a young age, this container, a healthy, healed masculine container that has the appropriate boundaries and support and protection within their business and within their life, to really allow the feminine part of them, the creative part, to have ideas and have flow and really feel safe within that container.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. There is definitely a balance with the masculine and feminine. And I think a lot of people don't realize that we all have masculine and feminine energy, but sometimes we can have more of a wounded masculine or a healthy feminine. And it's finding the balance of having both healthy feminine and masculine. And we can do that not just within ourselves, but in the world that we live in as well. We don't have to rush and be burnt out and drive our nervous system up through the wall.
Oh, absolutely. And as if you look at ancient temple cultures, really before our recorded history, there was a tradition which the women at that time, and look, we've all had many lifetimes where we've been both, we've been male, we've been female, but back then the feminine would sit in temples, they would birth in temples, and they would be connected to the divine 24/7. And they would, these temples would be built on high mountains and they'd be connected to the heavens. And they would receive this information and then they would bring it down to the men, the masculine, and the masculine would go out and take that beautiful envisioning and they would go and build it in the world. And now today, this epoch is about having that impulse in one individual. So when I work with people, they will feel, oh, my feminine wasn't developed enough. And what's interesting is a lot of times we find it's actually a lack of the masculine, the healed masculine, not the unhealed masculine within us. So again, that container, those support systems built in that allow the feminine to feel safe and flow.
Wow, that's so interesting. That's quite fascinating, actually. And another thing that you just reminded me as well, like a lot of women don't realize as well, is that it's not our fault that we don't know about the feminine or the healed masculine, because we only have to look back at our generations of mums and, all the female ancestors in our lineage, they didn't know how to balance, nor did their mum know how to balance. And so it's deeply rooted. And if you go even way back, when there were witches, they were burnt at the stake for having this intuition. So we have a deep fear rooted within us that we need to heal, because that's what's holding us back from actually tapping into that wisdom that flows through us. And again, society, cultural, familial, ancestral, there's a lot of that layers that have been added onto us that makes us not trust the feminine, but also makes us go into that masculine energy. Because I remember growing up, it was like the shoulder pads era women. And we've got to get things done, and they were all about being more like a man, and it's a man's world. And we kind of somehow, it rubbed on us, all of us who were born in the 80s, and we all kind of like, yeah, we've got to get things done, we've got to toughen up. But as we toughened up, our nervous system went downhill.
Oh yeah, it's so beautiful. And it's also how symbolic, right? The shoulder pads. I just love it's like literally putting on the form of the masculine, like the big shoulder, it's just so, and, we thought, oh, we have to outmen the men, right?
Yeah.
There's this idea in our culture, which permeated films and movements and books, which was, I need to outman the man to be successful. And what a disservice to humanity as a whole to not really see the value in the feminine, right? And look, I still sit on boards, and I only now work with companies who are willing to, and there are very few of them, who are willing to embody and allow room for the feminine at the table. Because it's not just about having a seat at the table. Oh, I'm a woman. But if you're putting on that suit and you're wearing that male energy at the table, are you really serving that that organ, that business that needs that femininity, that softness, that creativity, that compassion, that heart?
Yeah. And that's what, yeah, again, many, and I didn't know this myself, like the feminine is creativity, it's arts, it's flow, it's balance, it's intuition. And a lot of the times, all of us were pushing and pushing and pushing, not realizing, hey, you can have a break. You can go relax. You can go play. And when you come back after playing, the idea will hit you. No, I need to work harder. I need to be successful. And I used to live off 3 hours sleep like a nutter. Because I was like, I need to succeed. There's all this masculine energy around me. And it's only when I got sick back in 2015, when I started having a bit of a kidney issue, which actually later ended up being a kidney default that I was born with, that I learned that I needed to slow down. And that was the biggest medicine of my life and the biggest saving of my life, I would say as well. It taught me that I didn't need to be on autopilot mode, that I can flow, like you said, and that, I could take days off and I can connect with my intuition easily, and I don't need to be in the wounded masculine energy of over serving and over giving to a point that I didn't have anything left.
That's so beautiful. And the kidneys are really about that, right? They're this beautiful processing and that invitation to slow down so that we are, especially today with the level of AI and technology facing us, right? We
Yeah.
need that balance of the feminine even more. That connection to linear time has to be balanced. I work with geomancy through the Christ stream, which is basically
Wow.
where it's so healing for the feminine because we live in a linear calendar time, but that's a masculine paradigm, and it's essential, right? Like we would never make it to this podcast if we didn't have a day and time that we put on our calendar, right? Oh, let's
True.
just flow, and one day we'll meet online. But we need to also embody the circular time where we are it's almost like if you see a spiral, right? It allows us to deepen into the experience of life, and that is the antidote that we need to the technology and the speeding up that we can all feel how quickly
Mm.
time is moving right now when we are experiencing time in that linear way.
Yeah, that's so true. Wow. Wow. It really isn't I don't know if you feel it, but it's definitely a year of transformation.
Oh yes, I mean we're in the year of the dragon, so buckle up, folks.
You're
Yeah.
right. You're right. It's even since January, it's been like, wow, what is going on? But it's like a beautiful transformation that's happening.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. And the year of the dragon has only started in February, so we're only a short while into the year of the
Yeah.
dragon. You can feel the intensity. It's absolutely on another level. And it's so important. I think the level, what it's requiring of us is ultimate discernment. And so
Mhm.
we have to be very discerning in where our thinking are. So I work with alchemy, where our thinking, our willing, and our feeling are residing at all times and knowing how to navigate them. And that's what I do when I work with people is, usually we're stronger in our culture. We're certainly, as a general rule, much more strong in the thinking, that very cerebral, masculine thinking. And so we have
Mm.
to bring in the feeling, the acknowledging of the feeling, and also the will. And the will in humanity right now today is the least developed. And so it's really working with not just the feminine, because the feminine is so beautiful, but it needs that fire of the will. Because
Yeah.
look, we're all gonna spend our lives from now till the moment we cross that threshold. But very few of us are going to invest it in what truly matters and why we came here in the first place.
Mm. That's so true. And the thing is, it's all from within, but we have to be willing to go from within and feel those
Mm-hmm.
things and feel the heart, the pain, and all of the suffering that we've gone through to peel off those layers to really come back home to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautifully said. I could not agree more. It's acknowledging, really allowing ourselves to feel it and to live in this world today and to be, a clairvoyant or someone who's deeply feeling or a highly sensitive person, whatever language and system feels comfortable for you. But it requires a lot right now. There's a lot to navigate through the thinking, and the willing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure you felt the same as well, that, you know, I don't need to, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. And then suddenly it's like one layer came off. Okay. The second layer came off. The third layer came off. And as
Yeah.
the more layers came off, you kind of thought, who am I? What am I? And then as the
Oh
layers
yeah.
kept getting deeper and deeper, you realized that you were here for something bigger than you even knew about.
Oh yeah. I can relate to that. Absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
wait, what is this? What's going to be left when all these layers come off? What's underneath all of this, right?
And that's where the magic happens, right? That's where the magic is, where that's who we truly are. We all have a connection to divine and source energy, but we've restricted it. And we need to really come back home to that and allow ourselves to come back to that magic, because that's where the joy is, that's where the abundance is, that's where the happiness, that's where the freedom lies. That is what our gifts are. We all have a unique gift and talent. And I don't know if you know this as well, but even in our names, Tirzah, like there is meaning behind our names that we were
Oh, yeah.
given. I didn't even know. So Gerds is my nickname, but my first name is Gurdeep. That means helping people out of the darkness into the light, lamp of the guru, lamp of the teacher. My middle name means
Beautiful.
Yeah, my middle name means princess, and my surname means warrior. So I'm here to help women
Wow.
out of the darkness to be in their light and be in that princess energy, but also be strong in what they want to become.
Wow. That's so beautiful. Yeah, our names are so that's interesting. My first name Tirzah means pleasantness or this desire, right? This
Ooh.
word movement. It also means cypress tree.
Oh.
And my middle name is Shirai. I actually go by Tirzah Shirai. And that means our song, like our collective song that we're singing. And my last name, Briscoe, actually means the people of the birch tree. So I'm sandwiched
Oh my.
between two trees, a song sandwiched between two trees. Yes.
Wow. Talk about medicine from the
Yeah.
earth.
Yeah.
Wow. See, that's the power. We didn't even know the power of our names. I know growing up, I didn't like my name because many people couldn't pronounce it, but now I really embrace it because there
We
is
have
so
that
many.
in common. I was always moving around and I was like hiding in the back of the classroom
Oh,
because I was always the new girl with the weird name. And I was like, I have to go to the bathroom and try to not be there when my name was called.
oh, bless you. Oh, I
Yeah.
would, I,
But
I
I'm the
would,
same. I love it now.
yeah, I think but we grew up in a time where we were made to feel shame for who we are, our backgrounds and our culture. And, being different was not seen as cool. Whereas now I think, people are like, wow, that's really cool. And Gerds was a name that I chose, like a nickname, because I wanted to take that power back in some way. Um, and, when people go, oh, Gerds, I've never heard that before. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. You'll always
Yeah.
remember it. And like Tirzah, I'd remember that straight away because it's so unique. I'll always remember that. It's so easy.
Yeah, I love that. I was instantly drawn to your name. It's like, what a cool name. And I love there's a layer in the Vedas, the ancient Vedas, they talk about three layers to creation. And one of them is the symbols that are
Oh.
there, that all of creation is, God or whatever is communicating with us at all times, like through our names, through symbols, through, a book or a song that comes across us. And so I love that. And obviously our names stay with us throughout our lifetime. And so I love the meaning that they hold.
Yeah. And I love the thing that you just said about symbols. Just to give you an example, so with myself, my kidney, I didn't know I was born with a kidney defect till I was 30 years old. I spent 30 odd years of my life not even knowing that I had a problem. I had a smaller kidney on my right hand side. Um, the consultants, well, the doctors were shocked that how was I still surviving with it. I also had a knot at the top of my uteri connected to my kidney, which I used to think I had a stitch, which it wasn't, obviously.
Mm.
And my mum worked in the kidney renal unit as a nurse. So it was almost like the kidney thing happened. I had an operation and I managed to save it, luckily enough. But it was almost like I had to slow down in that point in my life there so I could come back home to myself, but also to learn that I could heal from this because I ended up having kidney disease and I reversed it with 7 months, about 2 years later after when I first got diagnosed. But that was like coming back home to the feminine to me. I'm coming back home to the masculine and the balance of the feminine. But that was a symbol for me that my mum would help people who were on dialysis at the later stage. And here I was learning that I didn't have to be there. Like I can heal this and I can help others on a deeper level than I even know.
Wow, that is an incredible story. And also, I feel this amazing connection because I was born with a heart defect.
What?
And if you look at the kidneys, right, they have two parts like that, masculine and feminine. They're all about the
Yes.
about distillation, right?
Yes.
And the heart has two chambers, and it's
Oh
about the
my
left and the
God.
right. And I had a patent ductus. It was a valve that didn't close when I took my first breath. Yeah, and I also had to have surgery at a young age. Although it
Wow.
was later, I think I was like 6 years old when they found it. Usually they correct it as an infant.
Yeah.
And, obviously, I believe we come in choosing these bodies and these beautiful vessels with all of the imperfections and things that we, that our culture would perceive as, oh, you need surgery, but are part of our path. And how interesting. The heart, right, is all about feeling, and the kidneys are all about processing. And so
Yeah.
how that is also part of our life's work we're doing many decades later.
Wow. Wow. I'm blown away. To be honest, I'm not surprised because we all have synchronicity. We're all connected in some form of way, right? There's always,
Mhm.
wow. And that's why your heart just exploded when you started doing the inner work, and why I was processing and healing like that.
Mhm.
Oh my God. And why we do what we do. That, wow. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, it really is.
But at the time, it's like, why is this happening? But then you're like, okay, now I get it. Now I understand it. But at that time, you don't always understand why things are happening. But there's always there's a beautiful thing happening for us for our highest good. But it's
Always.
reminders, right? It's a
Yeah.
reminder to come back to that connection that you talked about earlier, that connection from within. It's all about that. And I just want to touch on about, why do you think, we're in this day and age, but why do you think women are suffering more from physical and spiritual burnout than ever before?
Hmm. Well, I think it's, so much about our culture. We weave through these energies, and right now we are in this very unhealed masculine paradigm.
Mm.
And it's important that we recognize it is the unhealed masculine. There is a healed masculine. And I think because of the way, and again, from a certain perspective, yes, it can be dark, but it is so beautiful and so divinely guided. So I would say, why are we suffering from this? Because we are learning to trust and to let go. And I think the number one thing that has led me back to myself, I've been through, so much over the past few years.
Yeah.
And it's really that, like we were just talking about, that trusting that regardless of what you're going through, there is a divine purpose, right? And I don't mean that on a superficial, oh, everything happens for a reason. Like, that's not what I'm talking about, right? Because that's not for someone else to say. That's for a deep embodiment and understanding for us to trust the process and the unfoldment, so that we can step out of that type A masculine. I have to make every decision. I have to control every single thing in my life, to a complete surrender of, I trust the guiding force of my life. For me, that's Christ. And I mean that in a totally non-churchianity way.
Yeah.
But trusting whatever that guiding force for you is, that higher self, that, your ancestors, the earth, whatever it is for you that speaks to you, but really learning to build that connection, because we live in a society of materialism.
Hmm.
And, this very odd form of science leads the way. And that has disconnected us from the deepest part of who we are. And that is deeper than even masculine and feminine, right? It's this very deep connection to the mother, to earth, to Isis, to the divine feminine, to Sophia, whatever you call her, and to the sun, to the Christ, to the, this illuminate force that is really the healing power on earth. Though I think it is our reconnecting with that is causing us to go back into to come back into wholeness, to remember who we are.
Hmm. I 100% agree with you. I feel like we are the generation that's finally coming back home after centuries of women being mistreated, not having access to money, not having their own property. And yes, there are people that have done it before us, but there have also been challenges for some women being able to receive that. But we are finally at a place where women are making more money than ever before. But it doesn't have to be, like you said, materialistic. It's about utilizing what we have to create something that's bigger of service and helping others and supporting others. And that is like going back to, like you said, when women were priestesses and they were in the temples. They're coming back, but with that power again, and they're able to do things that they haven't been able to do since then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that witch wound that you brought up, also healing that as a culture.
Yeah.
And, so much of that is we fell, right? We fell from this divine connection to all living things, and we fell, and that connection was severed. And, when witches were here, they were, there were all different types of witches. I don't think we can say universally that it was all them working in the light. There was some darkness as well, but people were trying to rediscover and connect with the divine one-on-one. And the church, which is usually the toll booth to God, they like to put up the toll booth. They didn't like that. And so, so many of us carry that fear in our DNA, in our cells, of having that direct connection. And in this epoch, a whole new level of connection is available to us that has never been available to our, let's say, great grandmothers, right? That level, the density is different now.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is like a whole new world.
Yeah.
It's a world that we haven't known. Our ancestors have not known. Only going way back would they know what this is. But even then it was so different. Whereas now women are at such a different stage in their life here. Again, the whole thing about we don't have to get married now or have kids after marriage and things like that. That's all shifted. We are really taking our power back as women. But again, we are coming back in a way that doesn't have to be forceful and angry and full of negativity. It's about creation and community. I keep feeling that really a lot this year.
Oh yeah. And it's the recognition of we don't need to be the same to be equal. There's an honoring, a deep honoring of motherhood that also needs to come forward to match with, the whole CEO and, all these terms that really make me cringe. But the really honoring what it means there is no more important job or mission on earth than to raise the next generation. And so I think as we honor everything it means to be a feminine force in the world, it includes and transcends being a mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see very often in people I work with, right? Some women took the path of staying home with their children and not building a career. And, because of the wounds in our culture, they're finding a wholeness in that, right? Maybe they have empty nest or their kids are off at school and they have more time and now they're wanting to tap into a different purpose, right? But, and then I see women who have taken the career path and they either had children later in life or, they didn't have children and, and really looking at is there fulfillment in being a type A woman and taking, the kind of unhealed masculine into ourselves. And so I think in both places, there's a lot of gifts of coming back into wholeness. And it's kind of like our culture has experienced this divide between the women that stayed home and worked in the home and then the women who went and built careers. And it's like, we're all women. We all just come together and, and the importance and embodiments of both paths.
100%.
It doesn't have to be one or the other, right?
Yeah. And it's almost, when I kind of think about the olden days, like it was all about competition between each other. If it was in the workforce or it was being a mum, there was always a competition about something. Oh, well, she lost weight so much quickly after giving birth. Why don't you? There was always like a comparison. And it really isn't about that anymore. It's realizing that we are all, like you said, amazing and magical and beautiful in our own divine lights. And we all have gifts and unique things to share with each other. And we can come back together and embrace one another with our uniqueness. We don't need to compete and compare anymore. We just need to see each other for who we really are.
Yeah. And that is the gift, I think, also of the feminine. And we were talking about earlier how many of us feel like these paths in front of us, like, wait, what am I? What am I doing? What is this as I peel back the layers? Is because as we do that, a lot of the structures in our world don't work the way we thought we were. We were kind of sold this bill of goods and it's like, wait, that doesn't work the way that I was told it worked, right? And we're getting to be the generation that really lays down the foundation for the next generations to come, as they will for the future generations.
Yeah, and I feel like there's already a shift happening already because if you look at the younger generation, they are collaborating more than ever before, especially as women. And it's so beautiful to see on social media because before it was like, no, I'm the brand, look at me. But now it's like, no, we can help one support one another. And it's just, I love seeing that because it's just so beautiful to see that finally we're taking our power back and realizing that we work better when we come together.
Oh yeah, I mean this goes back to Darwinism and materialism, that we were sold, and we really, women so naturally collaborate and build community. That's how our, the feminine, that's how it thrives and grows.
Hmm. That's true. And if you look at men as well, like we will talk about our problems to each other and share how we're feeling, but men tend to not do that because it's
Yeah.
naturally within us, within the feminine to do that, to we thrive with people around us.
And that's what I see in the business world that we need more than ever, is we need that feminine impulse, because right now the unhealed masculine that is running the world is very much might is right, right? If I can control you, if I can dominate, if I can make more by extracting all of this, then I, basically the people below me deserve it. Like I there's this might is right. Whereas this healed feminine, as it rises, is about complete collaboration and recognizing that we are not just working with nature, we are of nature. We are, no one can own her or, put her into a laboratory. She is her own divine being with her own divine rights. And I think that it is that the feeling and the intuition as it comes online and more of those clairs are activated, we actually need that to not just be in an ashram or with, singing bowls or in a
Yeah.
yoga class. We actually need that impulse welcomed and brought into that seat at the table, in the boardroom, in the businesses.
Yeah. It's interesting you're saying that because I remember that 12 years ago, seeing that and thinking, gosh, things need to change within the business world. We need to see it even within the financial area, like things have to change. It's so robotic and negative and women are
Mm.
just competing and comparing and everything has to be perfect. But actually, if we just allowed the feminine, like you said, to come in with the leadership, oh my God, what a
Yeah, I'm
shift.
a huge fan of social threefolding, and in that realm of business, it's really about cooperation. So it's like if you're an orange grower, you talk to the people who are drinking it, you talk to the people, and there's this complete open system which, allows for free market economy, but also allows for complete collaboration. It allows for orange growers to work together. I'm using orange
Mm.
growing as an example, but
Yeah.
for all of these people to say, okay, and to honor the people who are, because when you look at, okay, this is going to be kind of a hot topic, but when you look at the fact that today in our world, our system is set up so we trade our time for money.
Yeah.
That is a form of slavery, because
Mm.
our time, how could we ever put a dollar amount on it, right? And that's why you see so many, you know, of the younger generations are fighting for, a 6-hour workday, or they're fighting for it because it is not in our human nature to trade our time,
Yeah.
which is finite, for money, right? That
Yeah.
is not in alignment with who we are. And yet we do need to have some sort of value. And so it is only through collaboration and coming together that we're able to change that paradigm into something that works more for everyone.
That's so true. I love the way you put that. That's so, so true. Oh, I just wanted to, because we are coming towards the end of the show. It's gone so fast.
I know.
We were going to talk, yeah, I would love to talk about plant medicine because I know when we were just before having this conversation, we were talking about how there's like an addiction with plant medicine. And, I can understand when with sobriety because I've been 11 years sober. And the reason I used to drink was because I did have an addiction with, not to an extreme extent, but it was my coping mechanism growing up because I didn't know how to deal with my emotions. So I used to numb my emotions with alcohol. But people do it with drugs and food. But also there is this new wave where people are using holistic things in order plant medicine in order to get a kick in life, I guess we could say.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this topic because I feel like it's something that, is the elephant in the room today that people are not talking about. And certainly, again, you're your own teacher, you are your own guru, so only you can know, right? And I've known people that have had healing from, a really well planned, well guided plant medicine journey. And so I certainly can't say universally, oh, it's bad, it's wrong, you should stay away from it. That's not the message here. But the
Yeah.
message is, yeah, the message is to be, we're in the age where discernment at the highest levels is so important. And so what I see in this kind of like bro podcast world of like, I've done 1,000 plant medicine journeys is we are talking about a real place. Like you're crossing the threshold when you do plant medicine. And first of all, the guide is very important. The person's consciousness who is holding that portal open for you is very important.
Yeah.
And when it's done for money or, different, like that brings a certain energy to it. And like anything, right? If you look at Cabo 200 years ago, it's completely different than it is today. And a lot of that has to do with the visitation that has happened, right? So by the way, the other side of the threshold is a real place, and that has become overdeveloped. So the level of discernment that is needed is extremely important. And so again, it can become an addiction. And how I think the number one thing I would say to know, right, is it an addiction for you or someone you know or care about? And how do you recognize that is through perceiving, right? We have these inner senses. Is there warmth? Because in the light, there are two forces even within the light. The darkness can usually be pretty easy for us light workers to see.
Yeah.
But within the light, there is still an opposing force, and it is luciferic. And so within the light, there is warmth and there is just illumination. And when we have just illumination, so it's almost like we ripped open that curtain, right? We basically had an experience that we did not earn. And what I mean by that is the ultimate goal for whatever you want to experience through drugs, alcohol, or plant medicine is that the goal right now is to really grow that from within, to develop that organically from within, that sense of whatever it is, connection, peace, love. And so the question to ask, I think, going into if you're going to work with plant medicine or if you have a lot and you're wondering if your time with it is coming to a close is really, is there warmth? Because illumination, so what I see when it's kind of run its course is people are going into these journeys and they're coming back with a ton of what we would call downloads, right? A ton of downloads. But when you take them and hold them up to the warmth, the light, they don't really gel like they once. Like maybe you had a few insights, but they're not really cohesive they're lacking real integrity.
Yeah.
And that is because the illumination, the light is there without the warmth. And the only way that we can grow the warmth is from within through activating our heart. And so really people, whoever it is, right? If you're working with me, if you're working with anyone out there, is to ask yourself, is there warmth? Do I feel an emanation of warmth from that being? Because there's a lot of intellectual stimulation out there from, the new age movement. And it's really dropping down and saying, am I getting warmth? So that's what I would love to share about, my own perspective of plant medicine, and that, it isn't a catch-all. It isn't for everyone at every stage. It's not the panacea that we're told that it is. And you have, from a business level, you have now these, people at BlackRock and Huge family offices now buying out and trying to take these, iboga and ayahuasca public, and they're going over to indigenous cultures and filling, shipping containers with this sacred medicine. And then they're trying to distill it into a pharmaceutical that doesn't pack the full integrity of the experience. And again, that's the danger here, is that we distill it down into our materialist lens and our materialist culture. And, that's kind of the worst that can happen with plant medicine.
Oh no, 100% agree with what you're saying. And from what I'm taking from what you're saying is that try it, but it has to resonate with the heart. And also, I think not just the heart, it has to feel the heart and the healing. Because if it's not heart and healing, then it's something else that you're experiencing that might not be what you need. But just from my own experience of, and I've written posts about this years ago. I've shared about this before, and it's interesting how people react who go on these experiences so many times. They really react to when you kind of talk about it. And we're coming from a place of going from within. I had a choice back in 2012, 2013, 2014. I think it was even 2015. I had friends around me that were doing this, and they would go every few months, and they were having a high. They were doing Cambo and all sorts of different things. And ayahuasca was such a big thing. But there was also scary stories that were happening at that time, which it wasn't in safe environments. Now, things have obviously changed since then, which is great. But I kept seeing that they were so reliant on this. And that made me go, actually, I don't want to do that, because I want to go from within, because I don't want to depend on something, because I knew alcohol, I'd done that before. I didn't want to do that again. So I chose to go from within and do the deepest, healing. It was painful. I'm not going to lie. It was dark, but it really helped me to understand who I really was when I peeled off the layers of ancestral, cultural, society, familial patterns, then other trauma patterns that I grew up with, and then money trauma and all different traumas. I really started to understand myself, and I wasn't on a high going, oh my God, I had this amazing experience. I was like, oh, now I get it. And then I was like, if I wanted to decide to go and have these experiences, it would be fine. But I find that out there, it's all about the quick fix. It's like, it's the same thing as medicine. Everyone goes to get a quick fix if they've got a headache. They don't really sit back and go, why do I have a headache? Is it because I'm tired? Do I need to rest? Have I been stressed about something? And when we don't question things, that's the issue, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, the thing that's coming to me right now is a toenail, right? Like plant medicine is very much a toenail. So there's a level where look, back in ancient cultures, the shaman would never use plant medicine except for the very worst cases. The people who were so shut off to the spirit realm and to their healing and to their source that they needed more than the drumbeat and the breath. They needed something external, but the goal was always the internal, that through that pathway they would tap into something, and then they would need to embark on a path after that singular journey, right? To embark on a path of knowing, okay, it looks like this, it feels like this, and to know it from within. So plant medicine is very much like a toenail, right? There is a point where maybe for a person, to not have a toenail at a certain stage can be very painful. And then there's a point where you've got to, like, the toenail's no longer relevant, right? You've got to cut that toenail. And only the listener, only you can decide where you're at in this journey. But it is always about ultimately that inner cultivation, right? And we can become too reliant on that external where we're not developing the internal. I mean, I know people who've had like 50, 60 plant medicine journeys.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And, they're using it just like whatever they used before. And, again, I think it's an unpopular topic where people are smart. They're intuiting this. They're feeling it and going, I'm not sure. There's something off there.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel that, because I've seen it transform in the last 12 years, how people are and the behavior towards it. I think what I'm picking up as well with what you're saying as well is, if you're going to go experience it, respect the journey and respect the person that's guiding you on that, because that's what they did in the olden age. There was a respect for the wisdom that comes out from these kind of plant-based medicines. But now it's like everybody wants that quick fix, and that's not respecting the journey, because even if you take that plant medicine, it's the journey after that happens, not what's happened in that moment. But people forget that. So like, no, I want that high that I had in that moment. But actually, it's we're never going to be in that high all the time,
Mm-hmm.
because
Or
we have to.
possibly never again. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like we have light and dark. Like life is like that. There is light and there's darkness. There's happiness. There's sadness. There's grief. There's joy. We have to ride through emotions. We have to learn to feel, deal, and heal our trauma. We can't just
Mm-hmm.
rely on things externally. And I did that. I used alcohol as a way. I would run around doing 100 different things, go and see people. Like I was running away from my trauma. And when I had to go from within, I had nowhere to run. I had to face it. And yes, there were days that were awful. And I wish nobody went through what I went through, because I did it alone, and that I never recommend that. That is why I do the work that I do, because I don't want anyone to go through what I went through. But having a support and guide that can help you, it doesn't need to be a quick fix overnight. I have a program
Mhm.
that's for 4 months, and there's a reason why it's 4 months. I have one that's for 6 months. There's a reason, because healing isn't supposed to be rushed. We
Mhm.
have to have time to sit back and process what's happened and understand, and then peel off more layers. If we're running to things externally, we're never really learning anything. We're just wanting to be high. We need to be in that darkness for a little bit, but also know how to get out of it to come back to the light. And
Oh,
and
absolutely. Yeah.
but this is the thing, right? People, when they feel sad or upset, they think there's something wrong with them. That's normal. Your body's trying to
Yeah.
tell you something.
Yeah, because I flow between the business world and the spirit world, I would say it's very much like if you're growing your business and you need to take out a loan, right? There's always smart money and
Mm.
dumb money. So it plant medicine is very similar to that. There are some people who are so frozen in a materialist state and they're so detached from their spirit and from their heart that
Yeah.
one very well thought out, well planned, well executed plant medicine journey can bring them back home to themselves. And
Mm.
it's like taking a business loan. You have to pay that back. You have
Oh,
to pay that back. And you went into debt. That is just the reality here. You went into debt. And
wow.
when you are taking smart debt as a business, it is to grow. And when you do that, you can pay it back later, right? But if you go
Yeah.
and do 60 plant medicine journeys and you take, predatory loan after predatory loan and you're spending it, at the bar, on magnums of champagne, metaphorically, hopefully, hopefully not literally, then you have missed the point of that gift that is that loan when it's needed at the appropriate time with the appropriate party, that low interest rate that's allowing you to open those 5 locations. But know that you have to pay that back, and paying that back means cultivating from within. It means that you're going to have to now, you've gotten a glimpse into like what it can be like, and now you've got to cultivate within all that you saw and experienced. And I don't see people investing in the integration in the way that they're just like chasing the next high.
Hmm. That's, I love the way you put that. That's so fascinating that you have to pay the debt. I love
Mhm.
what you said there, because it's true. It's so right. Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. Wow. I've just got two more questions.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
can you tell us about VSB?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Venusian School of Business is my current life's work. And it is where, we build community. We work with people who are, drawn to this work. They're drawn to what I'm saying right now. They really feel this calling to bring their gift, right? Why they came here, why they incarnated on earth in the first place, and they want to birth it into the world. And it's not just about money and handbags and cars, it's really something deeper. And so I didn't see anyone taking real world business tools and applying that to this work. And so that's what we do at VSB, and we do it in community. So, it's not just me. I'm a guide along the way, but it's, meeting other people who are in the same place, who want the same things. And, you know, we're mostly women. Of course, men are welcome as well, but having that sisterhood, having that community alongside you is so important when you go on this journey.
Oh, I love that. I love that. We definitely need more of that because, yeah, we didn't grow up with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. And what are your 5 top tips for someone who wants to balance their life, but they don't really know where to start?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm an alchemist. I love to work with, inner and outer alchemy. And so I would say, looking at, if you think of it like a triangle, so these would be my 3 out of the 5, is the thinking, the feeling, and the willing. So looking at our thoughts, just starting to examine your thoughts, and is this true, right? Really looking at the thinking and where the thinking is creating the feeling. And as we touched on many times, really tapping into the feeling, allowing the feeling. And then the third tip, or the third piece, would be what is really missing most, because in humanity right now, it's the least developed, and that is our willing. And so that is finding, a container, a group, a guide to help you with the willing, so that you are actually focused every day on bringing your thinking, feeling, and willing together. So you're actually seeing the fruits out in the world. And the fourth would be, learning to work with discernment and how warmth ties into that, the feeling of heat. So knowing that, if you see someone you like on Instagram or someone you want to work with, really asking, am I getting warmth? Is there warmth? And allowing that to be your guiding force. And then also something I'm seeing just with a lot of people that I'm working with is this state that is called spinning or frozen. So they feel like there's a million things they want to do and they can't really even get, one foot in front of the other, or they're spinning, like they have so many ideas and so many things. And so I would just offer as the 5th tip a way out of that, which is to really, you have to ground, and you want to use the triangle of the thinking, feeling, and willing to take that first step out of the frozen spinning state. So usually we'll have a lock in one of those 3. And by taking just a baby step, we will be able to unlock, and we will feel an opening happen where we can move forward out of that stuck and frozen state.
Oh, I love that. And what are you most grateful for?
I think to be alive right now.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Thank you, Tirzah, for being on the show and for sharing your story and your wisdom about the empowerment of women, and really just sharing how we can all come back home to ourselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gertz. Thank you for having me. Hopefully it's the first of many.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, lovely.
Gosh, I absolutely love you, Tirzah. You are a beautiful soul, and it's just so true to really let go of the stories that have been holding us back. We do get to nourish our nervous system if we take a step back. We do get to heal from burnout if we take a step back. We don't have to live in this masculine way of doing and being in that 24/7. Yes, masculine is important, but it doesn't need to be our whole life. There is a balance of the masculine and the feminine, and we all have that within us. But again, we've been taught society that men are masculine, women are feminine, but then women must become masculine in order to work, all this chaotic energy that we have been taught. But we really need to slow down and really pay attention to the wisdom from within, because when we listen to the wisdom from within, we are connected to source energy. When we're connected to source energy, we then become abundant, we then become aware, we then see what is right for us and what is wrong for us. We then trust our bodies, we calm our nervous systems down, and then we pay attention to when things doesn't feel right for us or people don't feel right for us, because our body is telling us before our mind does. Unfortunately, that's the end of the show. Before I leave, I want to leave you with this quote. Burnout is nature's way of telling you you've been through the motions. Your soul has departed. That's a quote by Sam Keen. Take care, my sisters, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. For more information about the show, visit www.gerdshandel.com. And remember, stay happy, stay healthy, stay lit.